Hey there everybody, my name is Andy, better known on YouTube as The Uncommentator, and this is the first video in a little two-part mini-series where I'm going to be trying something a little bit different. I came up with a bit of an idea that I think is a good one, and hopefully other people will think so as well. So by the end of the second video, I'm going to hopefully have created what I consider to be my dream WrestleMania. So how am I going to do that? Well, as it's WrestleMania 40 this year, I'm going to be looking back on the previous 39 WrestleManias and trying to come up with my dream WrestleMania card. So it's going to be fantasy booking with a little bit of a difference. But as well as a difference, it's also going to have some rules. So I've laid down some groundwork. Groundwork. We'll go with groundwork. I've laid down some groundwork as to how I'm going to create this card. So first thing I'm going to do is it's going to be a 14 match card. So it seems to be the on vogue thing at the moment for WrestleManias to be over 2 nights. And this Dream WrestleMania is going to be no different. So it's going to be night 1, 7 matches. Night 2, 7 matches. So you don't need Dean Douglas to tell you that means there's going to be 14 matches overall. The next rule I've set for myself, when doing this challenge, is I'm going to say that a wrestler can only be used once. So, and that includes all gimmicks as well. So, for example, I can't use One Man Gang and Akeem because that's the same person. And I know, obviously, some wrestlers have wrestled more than once at WrestleMania. One Man Gang being one of them. Yokozuna, I'm not going to go through all of them, but 1 or 2 others. But I'm going to say that I can only use a wrestler once. I'm also going to say that I can only use a WrestleMania once. And even though this is going to be 2 nights, I'm going to include historical 2-night WrestleManias as one WrestleMania combined, to make it a little bit more difficult. So, for example, I couldn't have Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens defeating the Usos from last year and then also have Roman versus Cody, for example, because different nights, but same WrestleMania. So that's, again, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. And the final rule, this is a kind of 4-in-1 rule. I've set myself, I've got to have 4 mandatory championship matches. Now, they are a world title match, so that could be a universal title, world heavyweight, undisputed, WWF, winged eagle, whatever you call it. I've got to have one of those matches. I've got to have a women's title match, and again, it could be anything, could be Raw, SmackDown, Divas title, anyone. I've got to have one of those. I've also got to have a tag team title match, and again, it can be any Raw, SmackDown, undisputed, world tag team, WWF tag team, WWE tag team, whatever it may be. And the last mandatory championship match I must have an Intercontinental Championship match. And also, I should say, I can only have one of those matches. So, I can only have one world title level match. So, with that being said, they're the rules. That's the idea. So, here's my attempt at creating a dream WrestleMania. Before I start, anybody else, please leave a comment on the video and the second video. So this is going to be 2 parts. This is going to be night 1 and the second video is going to be night 2. Please leave a comment on either video. Have a go at this yourself. I think it's quite a fun little idea. I've not seen the more established so-called bigger channels tackle this. I think it could be quite fun. So let's see what sort of card that I've managed to come up with. So night 1, our opening match, is going to be from WrestleMania 33. It's the Raw Tag Team title match. So this is my first mandatory championship match. It's Enzo and Kaz versus the Good Brothers versus The Bar. Now, that's how the match was advertised. But, of course, that's not how the match played out. Because at the beginning, the New Day came out and reintroduced us to the Hardy Boys. Now, once this happened, the crowd kind of lost their mind. And I said the crowd reaction carried this match. Now, despite the fact it was a good match in its own right, but I think the crowd reaction really sort of elevated it because everything the Hardys did was pretty much cheered. In fact, I think this probably got the loudest. This probably got the loudest pop of the entire show. Now, most of the action for this match wasn't really that memorable. It was more about sort of the crowd reaction. I suppose the big sort of high spot was Jeff hitting a swanton off the ladder on the outside, and I think he put. I can't remember who put through. I think it was Sheamus. He put through another ladder. There was a sort of bridge between the ring apron and the guardrail. But yeah, apart from that, not really a lot to. I can't remember a lot about this match. I just remember thinking how amazing it was to see the Hardys. And then, of course, on top of all that, they then went on to win the title. So we had new champions. We had a massive return, a really good match that didn't go on too long. And I think that could be a great way to start a WrestleMania. I think a fun sort of car crash party match is a good way to start a WrestleMania. So that's my opening match for night 1. Match number 2, you could argue this is the death spot for WrestleMania. It's either the match before the main event or the second match. They're both matches that you don't want to be in. But the two guys that are in my one from WrestleMania 27, I've got CM Punk versus Randy Orton. Now this is probably not the first match that you think of when you think of good WrestleMania matches, but I've got 14 slots to fill, and this I actually found this more difficult than I thought I would when I actually started when I was planning this. So gets these two guys on the card as well. We all know CM Punk wants to be on the WrestleMania card. Perhaps he wants to be a bit higher up the card, but that's another story for another time. I actually quite enjoyed the build to this match, referencing back to when Orton punted Punk in the head and took him out of the Championship Scramble match at Unforgiven, and CM Punk quoted. Was it Frank Sinatra who sang Ain't That a Kick It Out? I was going to confidently say Frank Sinatra, but I can't remember. Anyway, CM Punk saying Ain't That a Kick in the Head when he sought revenge on Orton. And why he waited 2 years, or nearly 2 years, I don't know. But anyway, much like the first match, again, this match, not really a lot of memorable action. It was just a good, solid match between two solid pros. I suppose the end bit was probably the famous bit. Punk countered an RKO. Went up to the outside, went for a diving clothesline, but he didn't counter the out of nowhere, and he ended up falling into the RKO, and Orton then got the pin. Not much to report, as I said, just a good solid match between two good solid pros. Now for something completely different. Match number 3 from WrestleMania 34. I'm booking The Authority, Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, against Kurt Angle and a debuting Ronda Rousey. Again, maybe a bit of a controversial choice, but I think because of the way Ronda's run, particularly a second run went in WWE, obviously things went a bit sour. Things went quite sour quite quickly. I think a lot of people forget how good this debut actually was. I think this is one of the best. I think this is the best debut in the history of wrestling, and by that I mean the best. As far as I'm aware, this was her first professional wrestling match. I don't mean WWE debut, because a lot of people that debut on WWE have had a match on the indies somewhere or a dark match or something. I'm nearly certain this was her first professional wrestling match, and given the expectations that were on her shoulders and who she was in the ring with, because bearing in mind she's in the ring, okay, Kurt Angle, Triple H, but they're part-time veterans at this point, and Stephanie McMahon is Stephanie McMahon. I mean, she's probably had 20 matches in her career, and I can't imagine. I doubt they were all Matt classics. So yeah, I thought, but the presentation of Ronda, I thought was great. I mean, I was ready. I'll be honest with you, I was one of those that was ready to watch her fail, but she was made to look great and more than held her own. Obviously, taking on both Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and it was nice to see Stephanie finally get some comeuppance. That was always a complaint that people had about Stephanie, that she'd go around slapping people and never actually got any comeuppance. But it was nice to get that here. So yeah, great debut for Ronda, really good match, and probably the highlight of this WrestleMania. This and probably the opening match. So yeah, that's my match number 3. Moving on now to match number 4. We have got a bit of a cheat, you could argue here. It's going to be from WrestleMania 17. This is the match I'm choosing from probably the best WrestleMania of all time. Certainly, most people would say it is. It's the McMahon family implosion. It's Shane McMahon taking on his good popper Vince. Now, you could argue this is a cheat match, as I've said, because Stephanie McMahon is at ringside. So, in a way, I've used Stephanie McMahon twice, but because she's not in the match, I'm going to say that I haven't done that. If you don't like it, tough. So, as you'd expect from these two kind of non-workers, this was more about the spectacle and the story. So the action really, a lot of it's just weapon spots. We get the usual high spot from Shane when he misses the elbow drop through the table. Foley, of course, Foley, who's refereeing, special guest referee Mick Foley, he gets creamed as well. He takes a few hits. And this match really is more about, as I said, more about the story than the action, because once Trish wheels Linda out, then all hell kicks off, and it really does build to a nice crescendo. So Linda, generally considered one of the worst characters in the history of WWE, I would say, because her delivery on the mic is particularly terrible. But she played an almost zombie type character really, really well here. So you've got to give her. I think some of her acting. I think the quality of some of her acting, I should say, contributes to what happened at the end. Because after this point, everyone then Vince. It's nice to see the big bad heel get his comeuppance. So everybody gets their licks in on Vince. So Stephanie slaps him. Foley also gets a shot in, but of course, the big moment that everyone remembers: Linda rising from her chair, the quote unquote Linda pop, and she proceeds to then the grapefruits are turned into wine, aren't they? She kicks Vince in said grapefruits. Shane then finishes Vince off with the again memorable coast to coast. Shane wins. It's a nice it's a good feel good moment. It's nice to see Vince get his comeuppance. It's nice to see Linda, after months of being downtrodden, get her revenge. And just a really good fun match. We're whizzing through this, aren't we? We're already on to... Are we on match number 5 already? I'm losing count. I think we are on match number 5. And it's going to be my second mandatory championship match. Because from WrestleMania 39, we've got Charlotte Flair defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Mammy herself, Rhea Ripley. Now, I have to say, I did toy. This was the last match that I put on this card. I was really toying between this match and the Sasha Banks Bianca Belair match from WrestleMania 37. The reason why... Was it 37? Yeah. The reason why... I'm working from memory here, so apologies. The reason why I went for this match rather than the other match, I just felt like this match was an overall better match, but I think the other match had more memorable spots. There was the hair whip at the end, I think everyone remembers. Bianca gorilla pressing Sasha above her head as she walks up the steps. But as I said, I think this is just a better match. So in terms of memorable spots, I suppose there aren't too many. I would say I just think it's a good match. You've got Charlotte countering a Riptide into a DDT, absolutely spiking Rhea on her head. That was particularly good. She also kicked out of a Riptide. Later on. Then Rhea went a bit German suplex crazy. She German suplexed Charlotte off the top rope, and also in the ring, and Charlotte almost landed on her head. That was pretty scary. But in the end, she hit the Avalanche Riptide after a long match. I think people were starting to fear towards him that Charlotte was going to win, but she didn't. As I said, the Avalanche Riptide put Charlotte down, and Rhea is the new champion. But this match, however, isn't perfect because, well, the match itself, I'd say, was very, very good, close to perfect, I would say. About as good as it probably could have been. The only thing that wasn't so perfect is the aftermath. Because along with Tower of Doom spots and Tease Money in the Bank cash-ins, the thing that absolutely needs to get in the bin the most is Charlotte Flair's reaction to when she loses a bad match. When she does that, she pulls that condescending, "Oh, you got me, kid" smile, as though she's not bothered that she. I mean, if you lost a big championship match, generally you'd be a bit disappointed or even upset. But Charlotte tends to smile. I think it was the same when Becky won the Royal Rumble. And Charlotte was last thrown out. She just kind of laughed it off. There's countless other examples. They're just the one that's just the one that springs to mind. But yeah. So for that reason, that can get in the bin, which allows us to then move on to our penultimate match on night number 1. This match can definitely not get in the bin. It's a submission match from WrestleMania 13. It's Bret the Hitman Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I absolutely love this match, and there's a very good reason. I think it's a good reason for it, which I'll get to in a second. But this was one of 2 matches. When I first thought of doing this idea, there were 2 matches that I absolutely would, under no circumstance, were not going to have. This was one of them, and another one that may be coming up in the next video. Ooh, what a tease. So stick around for that one. So I had to have this match on this card because it's pretty much iconic. I should have said iconic. Then again, maybe I shouldn't. Anyway, let's move on quickly. Yeah, this match is pretty much iconic. I think it kind of sells itself. You don't need me to go through it, but I will anyway. But the main reason, before I do that, the main reason why I wanted this on the why I like this match so much, and why I wanted it on the card, is because the first time I saw this match, it must have been at least 10 years after it had happened, and it had been hyped up for so long. I've seen it so often on the "Don't try this at home" packages. That, if you're a long-term viewer, you remember all this. Constantly seeing Austin with the crimson mask at the end of the match, and I thought this match can't be as good as people make it out to be. And when I watched it for the first time, it was absolutely fantastic. Despite the fact I've seen all these highlights, just again, they're just burned in wrestling fans' brains, I think. So the iconic start to the match when Austin walks out. You've got standard Bret. I'll be honest with you, I've never been a big Bret Hart fan, but I can't deny that in the mid-90s he was absolute quality. It was probably I've watched all the In Your Houses, and his match was nearly always the highlight. Apart from, of course, Mrs. Foley's baby boy. Shout out to Mr. In Your House, Mick Foley. But yeah, Bret. Whatever I think of him, absolutely fantastic in the ring. Again, all these spots have been seen a million times on various hype packages. It's WrestleMania. Lawler screaming, "It's WrestleMania, baby!" as Austin whacks Bret with a chair. Austin being launched headfirst into the guardrail. Bret clonking him with the ring bell as he's getting choked out, and then from that point onwards, it's the beginning and the end for the rattlesnake even, not the rattlesnake, but. We've all seen the end bit. Probably the most famous and probably the best ending to a match that there's been. You could argue. I mean, everyone's seen that so often. The fabled double turn is complete. Austin's a megastar. He's on his way. Bret's done his bit. Just an absolutely fantastic match that really doesn't need me to sell it. But it's not the main event, because what from this night one, we're already up to match number 7. Because what could be bigger than an all-time classic? Well, I think it's when a career is on the line, and that's what's going to happen in our night 1 main event. Because match number 7 from WrestleMania 8, is it WrestleMania 8 or 7? Can't remember. Anyway, move on. From WrestleMania 7, apologies. It's the Ultimate Warrior against Macho Man Randy Savage, who's put his career on the line. Now, I think this match is often overlooked for a couple of reasons. One, I think people remember Warrior against Hogan a bit more fondly from when the main evented in Toronto, even though I think this is a better match. Likewise for Savage, even though his body of work is a little bit generally better quality, I don't think that's a controversial statement. I think his match with Steamboat from WrestleMania 3 kind of overshadows this match a little bit. And also, I think the post-match as well is perhaps more famous than the actual match itself. But the match itself, I think, is phenomenal. I mean, it's simple. It's simple but effective. It's the Ultimate Warrior in the 90s. You're not going to get Gotch versus Hackenschmidt, as JR might say. But what you are going to get is good, solid, simple action. I love the Savage spot when he jumps over the top rope and drops his opponent on the top rope, kind of guillotining them. But it does get a little bit ridiculous. At one point, Warrior kicks out of 5 consecutive elbow drops. So Savage hits five flying elbow smashes, and Warrior kicks out. So that's a little bit ridiculous. So finisher kickouts have been around a lot longer than people want to give them credit for. The other slight negative against this match is for me the end bit. So essentially, the Ultimate Warrior wins with a flying tackle. So he hits quite a few of these throughout the match, but then not only does he win with a tackle, he pins Randy Savage with one foot on his chest. So if you're a big Savage fan like I was, then slightly disappointed. But that, to me, that doesn't take too much. What I've just said doesn't take away too much from the quality of this match. I still think it's a fantastic match and a fitting way to end this WrestleMania Night 1. Or at least it would be if there wasn't the famous post-match. Because, of course, after the match, Sensational Sherry not too happy with Savage because he's now got to retire. Elizabeth, who gets shown in the crowd all the way through the match, showing her concern. She finally has enough. She climbs into the ring and grabs Sensational Sherry, throws her out, and then they tease for a hell of a long time before finally hugging. Savage hoists Elizabeth up in the air, and the crowd all rejoice. He's turned babyface. His career's over. And that image there, Again, that's an image that's been seen quite a lot on various hype packages. I think some people think that image is from SummerSlam when they got married, but it's not. It's from WrestleMania. It's after this. It's the aftermath of this WrestleMania, and of course, Savage honoured his retirement and never wrestled again. So that is WrestleMania, My Dream Wrestlemania Night 1. So let's just have a reminder of what is on this card. So that's the card in full. So we've got the tag team title match from WrestleMania 34. We've got the Raw tag team title match, I should say, from WrestleMania 33. Forget that, I'll edit that out. We've got the WrestleMania 27 match between CM Punk and Randy Orton. We've got the WrestleMania 34 mixed tag team match, Ronda Rousey's debut. We've got the street fight from 17 between the McMahons. We've got the Women's Championship match, SmackDown Women's Championship match from WrestleMania 39. And we've got Bret Hart, Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13, main evented then by Randy Savage, putting his career on the line against the Ultimate Warrior. So that is my night 1. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Tune in to the next video where I'm going to be doing night 2. But if you did enjoy this video, then please like and share the video. You can also leave a comment on the video should you choose to do that. While you're here on YouTube, if you head over to the channel, The Uncommentator, you can check out some of the other stuff that I normally do. So I normally make gaming videos. If you like wrestling, I've done a playthrough of WWE Crush Hour. So please go and check that out. But join me next time. I'm going to be moving on. It's going to be night number 2, my next 7 matches of My Dream Wrestlemania. So tune in for that. But until we get to that point, for now from me, it is sayonara.